Alright, hi everybody, it's Bonkai922 again. I still keep playing that game. Thomas! God damn you! God damn you! Well, the way I look at it is this. He wants some Lunar to play that game? That ain't happening. The game is fucking crazy. You rather... I don't want to... I don't want to go on this game. I should do a review for this game, but I'm not going to. But I will say this. Two things happen in that game. Whether you rape somebody or you get raped. I tell you right now, it's like berserk. Yo, it's like berserk. But that for another time. I already did Maggie. That's going to upload soon after I do this video. Which is going to be... This is a... This isn't the chapter of Nanatsu no Taizai. No. But this is... I think they decided this week to translate this first, which makes sense. They didn't go ahead and bring out a chapter 74. They brought a chapter 73.5. And this chapter explains everything. It explains Helbram's connection with King. And actually, it really explains it very well. Very well indeed. I really enjoyed the explanation. It was fought out so well in this chapter, which 0.5 chapter. So yeah. This was like okay, this was pretty long. This was a pretty long chapter. But essentially what occurs in this chapter is, I don't want to go too much details, but I'm just going to go into details when it concerns his relationship with Helbram. Okay. Now, we get to meet Diane. We get to meet Diane when she is a kid, when she's really young. She's pretty short still. Well, for a giant. And we see her meeting up with King. And this is after he left his sister. I believe. And she says, "Did I scare you?" And you see Diane, and it's like, oh, she's young. She's really young. She's not. She's it's funny. They're eating pork, roasted pork, grilled pork. It was funny. And basically in this scenario, what happens is King doesn't remember. He doesn't remember what he did or anything, and what with his duties and everything. And he's basically with her eating meat, pork meat and stuff, and and basically Diane made these things, which they're these blockhead things. They're these golems that she made. And he's like, they're saying, "Well, I beat you" and stuff. And basically Diane found King. And they've been they're friends, and they're having a good time. This was a really touching chapter. From what I'm seeing, from what I saw. And basically what happens is they bump into this guy who gives them food, this soup. And they take it back and they eat the soup. And there's one part where the guy who gave them the soup, what happens is Diane gets a fever. And King doesn't know what he's supposed to do and everything and so forth. And the guy comes back and he tells her what he needs to do to bring down the fever. And that's what happens there. And saying, and King has this motto here where he says he doesn't trust humans. Not that he doesn't want to be with them, saying kill them all, but he says he just doesn't trust them. And we have a flashback with Helbram, and I'm like, okay, so this makes sense now. Helbram was with King during the past. And what happened to Helbram? I will say this. I do feel a little bit sympathetic to him. I do. I do. Meaning being, um, he did feel betrayed by the humans. Yeah. It was one of those things. So we see like a flashback of him saying he's helpless. He's going to go make friends supposedly, Helbram, and he's thinking about Helbram while he's with Diane, and Diane has, and then we see she has a fever, and she's like, she has a fever, and she's like, I don't want to be lonely anymore, and it was really sad. You see Diane, and she's very lonely, and we see a scene with, King's sister, don't leave by my side, big brother, and so on and so forth, and he remembers Elena, and the guy comes back and helps her with the fever. After that, we have a scene with Diane and King going around like, hey, you're not getting away. She's walking around and her clothes come off and she's naked. your clothes, gotcha. And then he makes her, gives her clothes, King, a little clothes thing on her, and it gives her pigtails and everything, and she's like, yeah, this chapter really makes you think about how they met up originally. I never knew this at all. That they knew each other before Seven Deadly Sins, before becoming part of the Sins, Diane and King. I never knew that had occurred. And she says, "What do you think? I made them myself." And saying that she made them themselves, and we see a flashback when he was. It was a kind of weird chapter. This chapter also because you go back and forth. You go back to King with Helbram and his sister, and into Diane. It's kind of juxtaposition, going back and forth on it. The Fairy King's force, she says, and then we go back to King walking with Diane, and there's a village with a lot of houses, and we see this guy who looks like the guy that gave him the food, that was his grandpa. And so we see this village, and it's like very happy and everything. And we see another thing in this chapter, which kind of surprised me. You see Hedrickson. Now, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on this, but I think it's on page 31. It seems to be Hedrickson with his wife and kid. That confused me. But basically on this page, we see she's jealous of them. Do you love me? Yeah. Then she says, I want you to always love me. Diane said that to King. And after that, we see this courage of merchants and everything going in there. And we see there's an emergency that Helbram was captured by humans, and he wakes up and he says, I remember everything now. And I was the Fairy King, and so on and so forth. He goes into details. He protected the Fairy Kingdom from the human world and so on and so forth. But a friend who was interested in humans was fooled and kidnapped by an evil human, came to this world chasing after them. And there's a fire near there, and it's too dangerous, and basically King goes by himself and says, go find your friend and go back to where your other friends are, Diane says. And she's crying, and I was like, oh man, that's so sad. And then basically the human that attacked them is the guy who Helbram originally looks like in the beginning of Seven Deadly Sins. So what occurred was, and basically the fairies their wings were ripped off, Helbram's wings were ripped off. He transformed into the human who he hates. Whoa. That threw me off. I was like, wow. So essentially, a human shouldn't be able to live that long, and then you realize who it is. It's the guy who attacked the village was Helbram, but he looks like the guy who ripped off his wings. So that's what happens, and King realizes this, and he sees Helbram. Are you still alive? That's my line. Um, and basically asks him, "Why do you look like that?" And he says, "The appearance is so I don't forget my hatred for the humans, and so on and so forth." And he was going there and saying that everyone was killed, because their curiosity, they wanted to look at the humans and play with them and stuff, and so on and so forth. And then basically, he says they tore the wings off right in front of my face, slowly taking their time so that they wouldn't damage the wings. And he basically, he's crying and shit. I'm like, wow. So I'm gonna give Helbram some legway. Maybe not Trifus or Kill Thunder, get the fuck out. But Helbram, I can see now. I can see now why he did what he did. And basically saying, he continues, I hate the humans, so that's why I've been killing them for 500 years. It's not enough, not until every single human is dead. If that happens, I know you'll stop me because you're my friend. And then we see Helbram gets stabbed. Gets just a rose thrown at him by King. And I'm like, okay, he's dead. And he's like, I'll atone my sins for leaving my friend to suffer. I know, even knowing of his suffering. I'm sorry, Diane, I can't keep my promise. And then he basically throws a rose at Diane, makes her go to sleep. So, and then we see Maldos there, which is kind of interesting. So he must have arrested King, because they did the massacre. They saw him. He was arrested, King. So it was very interesting how this all came together. So we have him supposedly killing Helbram. We find out how he killed Helbram originally. And we find out that Diane knew King before the 7 Deadly Sins. So he gets taken away by Melados and everything. And Diane, he says, the sin of the Lord of the Fairies who had his treaty with us is heavy. Criminal Harlequin is hereby sentenced to imprisonment of 1,000 years. And we see Diane wake up. And she's cute and everything. He says, if I meet you again someday, one more time, I'll... And then that's the end of the chapter. This is the one who erased memories, King, and the one who had memories erased, Diane, despite their bond, but destiny caused them to cross paths again in the 7 Deadly Sins. And then it says on the side, to be continued, chapter 74, fulfilled promise. The sin of the Fairy King was too kind. The time for atonement is now. Next issue, the decisive battle between King and Helbram. So, essentially, next week, we're going to get the whole fight between him and Helbram. Now that I know about Helbram, I mean, his curiosity about humans kind of resulted in him going that. But even though he was curiosity about humans, and they did do that to him, I give this guy some leeway. Because you know why? He has a reason. He has a bona fide reason why he hates humans. It's not like, he's doing this for shits and giggles. No, he has a reason. And this is King's sin. He couldn't save Helbram. It's amazing when you think about it, But this will be some fight next week. I'm going to tell you guys right now. This fight is going to go way deep. Way deep. This is the kind of fight in this show, in this manga, that is deep rooted between two people. And when you think about how King couldn't save Helbram, and how Helbram acted when he fought King in like last week's chapter, and I was trying to kill Diane, it makes you think about a lot of things. Overall, this was a long chapter. It's at 0.5, but I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5. Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. Yeah, let's go in on this because they did it very well. They connected everything very well in this chapter. I thought it was put together very nicely. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But next week should be really great. Now that we know that's probably what they were thinking. Put it in a 0.5 chapter. Explain the history between King and Helbram, and then go in the fight next week. So this, man, I mean, this is a lot different than the other fights we've seen in Seven Deadly Sins, and I mean that because really think about this. What other fight can you really just pinpoint that has a deep-rooted history between them? Not a lot. Not a lot. Melodos maybe, but even I don't. I can't. I just can't see that. But yeah, good chapter, people. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. Diane was cute in this chapter. She was very kawaii. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Next week's gonna be an awesome fight. Now we know this shit. Can't wait for it. I'll see you guys later. Peace.